So our next speaker is Freya Chou, who is Program Director, I'm not sure if I'm getting that right, Program Director at Parasite, which is the leading contemporary art center here in Hong Kong.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Julie and Vivian, for inviting me. This is really remarkable to be here and celebrate the 10th anniversary. I think when I see the lineup of the panelists, I was feeling a bit embarrassed because we are not like hardcore NGOs or educators been working with these communities for years. So we are an art institution in Hong Kong, and so what we can speak about it's a very different approaches. I think I would just briefly talk about this project that we initiated in 2015. So Parasite, we're in an art space that we work with artists and to produce exhibitions and artworks. So when we had this idea to initiate a project dedicated to a very specific group, which is not usual for an art institution to do that. But it's like in Hong Kong, the domestic workers situation is so obvious, but there is, at least in the art context, there's a very few places that work with them. So we had this idea to develop a series of a year-long project, but what can we do? Because we are not, as I mentioned, this is not our specialty. So, but what the tools and the resources and the platform we have, sorry, thank you. So we're looking at the resources and the platform we have and think about the best solution is to seek for the experts, people like Vivian and all these educators. So this project starts with 3 different stages. The first stage is we invite artists and researchers in their practices focusing on the issues of migrant and domestic workers. We invite them from the region to Hong Kong to do research. And then the second stage is we work with NGOs in Hong Kong. And the third stage is an exhibition. So for the research stage, we invite like 6 group artists and artist groups. I would just give one example of the outcome here. This is we invite this Indonesian collective group called Kunci Culture Study Center. Kunci, they're interested in more like culture and literature approaches. So when they come to Hong Kong, they went to Victoria Park and they found this every Sunday there is a group called Mobile Library. Is that they bring the books into the suitcase and every Sunday they brought it to the park and they had their own reading sessions. And Kunci had this idea to conduct a series of 6 sessions of reading clubs with this mobile library group of people. So they select very serious hardcore Indonesian literature written about the domestic and migrant workers' stories. And by the end of the sessions, and so every Sunday they have these reading clubs, and by the end of the session, Kunci had the idea to make a publication. And we think, why don't we expand it, also include Philippines literatures and also Chinese literature, and distribute among the community. So within a very, very short period of time, we gathered everybody's knowledge and the suggestions. We gathered 41 poetries, short fictions, and excerpts from the plays. All the stories are written by and for the domestic worker and migrant workers. And we translate it into 4 different languages, English, Chinese, Indonesian Bahasa, and the original text is in Tagalog was also included. And this is one of the outcomes that we feel like in our institution that we can do is because it's we produce this book, which is not like an exhibition per se, but it has more longer impact and sustainability that we felt. This is one thing that we can do. I'll pass around if you guys are interested. And then the second phase is we work with NGOs. And so in 2015, in June, because we have no idea what's people out there, so we had these big gatherings that we invite I think it was about 40 different organizations representative come to Parasite and have this big meeting and basically to listen to what everybody needs, so what we can do, and it's like a mingling and networking, and that's when we met Vivian. Oh, by the way, it's we're gonna do a public screening for this workshops at the Parasite in May. So the event will announce it shortly. So at that meeting, after that meeting, we are so confused because everybody has their different needs, and there are many local politics as we feel that's in the Indonesian communities and the Philippine communities, and we feel that's too much for us to handle. So instead, we just seek for individual collaborations. And so this organization, Sensational, they're based in London and Hong Kong. They contact us saying they are interested in doing a year-long photography workshops. So what they do is they teach ladies and girls how to take photos, and they help them sell their works. So they had this idea to do a photo workshop academy. So, and at that time, my mission as education public programs at Parasite, my mission is how we can bring more people to our spaces to see art. But this is so intimidating for not just the general public or for even any community. I cannot ask them to come to 22nd floor in the industrial building to look at art out there. How am I gonna, grab people on the street to come? So working with Sensational is just one way that I wish that the domestic workers, community people just come to our space. They don't need to know exactly what art is, or at least they just come and see the work. So what we collaborate with Sensational is we will provide the space, they will do the workshops, but they will use whatever existed at Parasite at that time, the artwork, as teaching materials. Whatever aspect they think would be useful. The girls can take photos at our space, or they can listen to the story from the artist. So it's just it's a win-win situation for both of us. That for people to appreciate more about art, but also make them feel that they are the artist, together with whatever is exhibits in our space. And so the third stage is also, so with the Sensational, we developed a series of a workshop, which is very successful, and the girls joined the reading clubs and also participate in our photography workshops. So we kind of bonded a lot of Parasite friends and from the Indonesian and Filipino communities at that time. And the third stage, sort of the peak of this long project, is the exhibition called After Work. And that's in that show, it's a large group show that we gathered 30 artists' work. Some were domestic workers, or some of their family members were domestic workers. So the stories, the show, the largest touch of different issues around not just starting with the domestic workers issue, but also elaborate to the migration and class and races and different issues. So. And then, of course, it arises a lot of attentions. People come and know more about the stories of what this long initiative project is about. So, again, back to the starting from the idea of working for the project with the domestic worker. By the end of the year, we realized that this platform is not just to speak for the ladies. It's not but instead provides a platform to that then be able to their voices to be heard. So they are the artist, and they are the centerpiece. They can be as anybody else, and our approach is not to empower them, because that's not basically what we do, but it's mainly to arise the awareness for general public like me, like we used to be so take things for granted. But this is through this process and the year-long project, we hear that so many people come to us saying they have never been aware of the issue of these domestic workers before. they have never realized that some of the Hong Kong, I think most of the Hong Kong people grow up with helpers, but they never really take their issues seriously. And the mass media, because of the exhibitions and the projects Parasite is doing, has more media exposures for that. So I think for Parasite's approaches, we kind of touch at a completely different audiences, that audiences like us, me, for example. Thank you.